We just got out of the pre-screening for Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. Here's our non-spoiler review.
Alright, well, in case you're curious if you need to watch part 1, we'll go ahead and do a brief recap of what you need to know. In Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, we are first introduced to what they call the Entity. In this one, Ethan's mission is to find the cruciform key. Of course, like true Ethan Hunt fashion, he goes rogue to figure out what this key unlocks. We're introduced to our new villain, Gabriel, who Ethan has a past with. We have great new characters and a fun new adaptation. If anything, I recommend seeing at least the end of Dead Reckoning before you go and watch the Final Reckoning. That motorcycle scene going off the cliff is must see, which I think in the budget of Dead Reckoning, it was about $290 million, and it didn't do quite as well as hoped because it came around the same time as Barbenheimer. The box office returns for Dead Reckoning was about $571 million. Going into the final movie, budget is $400 million. The same directors, Top Gun Maverick, Chris McQuarrie. Yeah, Tom Cruise kind of reignited the spark with Hollywood, I would say. They're a dynamic duo for sure. With Top Gun Maverick, it got everyone back in the theater. You saw that with Barbenheimer. And while that kind of overshadowed Dead Reckoning, you still got movies like Dune in 2024. Tom Cruise, I'll give a lot of credit. He is carrying that torch to make these blockbusters fun to go watch again. You think they'll exceed $1 billion at the box office?
I mean, absolutely. It's Tom Cruise in a plane. What else do you want?
It's crazy to think about, but in this movie, there's some of the best stunts I've ever seen. Especially in Act 2 and Act 3 of this movie, you're just on the edge of your seat just going, how in the world is this not CGI?
Right. And just the setup of this film and just going into those acts, it constantly had a build-up in tension that was just so perfect. I don't think they could have set up this movie better.
Even though it's on the trailer and you might know what's going to happen, you're still jaw-dropped going, how in the world is this going to get pulled off? Like, the trailer doesn't ruin anything for you.
In a lot of the current movies nowadays, we see a lot of CGI taking over, just the heavy action and all of that. Tom Cruise really pushed for those real stunts and making that happen. And I think that's why it feels so real, is because when you're seeing him falling out of the sky or you're seeing him fighting with someone, that's really happening. They're not relying heavily on CGI to make this happen. And I think that's why the budget was so high on this film.
This was shot specifically for IMAX. There's over 45 minutes of footage. I think they're going 8,000 feet in the air at over 140 miles per hour winds. Like, this is made specifically for IMAX, and it fits the screen perfectly. It's such a treat to go watch in the theater.
Well, the big part about that's the sound design. The sound design of this film was absolutely phenomenal. It's thrilling, it's intriguing, it's got so many tense moments in it. It grabs you and puts you on the edge of your seat. I think it's so refreshing to see a movie use sound so well and building up throughout the acts and just constantly pulling you and making your heart rate rise up. It was just awesome.
While it is a 3-hour movie, it didn't feel long. Like, once it gets good, like Act 2 and Act 3, like, you just don't blink. You're enjoying it every step of the way.
Right, and that's what's so impressive to me. I mean, you see, this is the 8th installment to this franchise. That is so rare to me to see, have this franchise be so successful after 8 installments. We're on the Final Reckoning.
Final Reckoning.
And it's better than most of them. I thought it was so good.
Yeah, it really is the culmination of the entire franchise. Like, while it is trying to be a standalone movie with the rebranding of the title, it does pay an homage to the other previous movies, and you can tell this is it. They're going all in. It's the biggest budget, especially with Tom Cruise's age. They just go all out, and it's very fun.
I thought Tom Cruise producing this, it was an absolute perfect ending to this franchise. Who knows, though? Tom Cruise doesn't quit, so... And it's much more relatable than the past, where you got your chemical warfare, you got some big boss villain in the past Mission Impossible films.
Right.
While they're great on the big screen, it's not relatable. It's much more relatable to look at AI taking over, as that's the common question people raise today, and this is a possible outcome. It scares me. I hope it doesn't happen. By golly, it might.
Yeah, no, it's a very practical movie, I think, compared to the other Mission Impossible movies.
Another interesting thing is, throughout this film, you're always being told only Tom Cruise, only Ethan Hunt can do this. And I kept asking myself, like, really? Tom Cruise? Like, why?
Exactly. Well, and once you see the scenes he does, it's like no other actor is going to do that.
Right. No one's stupid enough to. They do such a good job at showing you, no, Ethan Hunt is the man for this, and no one else can. And it literally comes up to the line for him to do it, and he does it.
Other movies, you'll kind of see more focus on gunplay. Ethan Hunt's just going to outsmart you.
Right.
He's a master escape artist, and you know everything's gonna go down to the last second. It's just absolutely thrilling, and it makes you wonder, like, why is it always the world's in danger and only Ethan Hunt can do the job?
You know, another impressive thing about Tom Cruise, he's an old guy. I think he's, 62 years old?
Something like that.
The fact that he's got him doing all these impressive stunt scenes and fight scenes, the camera work they do to make that happen, you'd have to think at 62 years old that he's not throwing punches like he used to when he was like 30. So I think the camera angles that they do when they throw a punch just to make it look like they're actually hitting it and he's full force doing it, I think it's absolutely fantastic. It makes you question. It seems like some of the previous films, he was climbing up a lot of things. Now he's just falling. Maybe that's because of age. Who knows? But I really don't see any Tom Cruise limitations.
No, I mean, he's still running, looks like incredibly fast. And then, yeah, the action sequences, they do a clever way of, hiding those limitations. I think it rewards the viewer if you've seen the entire franchise. There's lots of great scenes from the previous movies that you'll enjoy seeing again. I won't spoil any cameos, but the actor who played Mr. Milchek from Severance, boy, oh boy, he was so good in this movie.
He was so good. Everyone cheered in the theater when he was on screen. It was fantastic. Although he was a shorter character, it was just, fantastic.
It's always intense when, things are going to come down to the last second. But there are moments in this movie where it's almost like a thriller.
Right. And that's what makes me hate to say this, but when we were talking about going to see this before we actually saw it, we were talking about could this be the best movie of 2025? I, without a doubt, say this is the best movie of 2025.
Yeah, man. I was saying that going into the movie. Even if... I've seen all the movies. You hadn't seen part one. Right. I was pretty confident with this budget, they're going to knock it out of the park. But you were a little on the fence, and now you agree that this is a runner for movie of the year?
Yeah, the fact that they had fantastic cinematography, they had real stunts, they had great audio design, it blew it out of the water in every portion. I mean, and Tom Cruise as the lead actor, you can't do anything better. Other than my minor gripe of Gabriel and his performance, I think this movie is just top notch, and it leads just to seeing it in IMAX. Whenever you see a movie in IMAX, it just furthers everything, makes it all better. And I think this is probably one of the top movies I've seen in IMAX, other than I think of like maybe Avatar or Interstellar.
It's not better than Interstellar.
No.
But it's definitely a top tier IMAX movie.
Right. And I mean, just the surround sound design that they did with this film, it was insane. It felt like you were literally submersed in the water in different scenes. It was so crazy.
We don't have our full crew here with Aaron and Nate. We'll cover the spoilers further with them. But we might as well dive into our final scores here. What would you give it on a quality and entertainment?
So for quality, I'm going to give this movie a 9 out of 10. I think this movie had fantastic cinematography, audio design, and acting, minus my minor gripes with some of the build-up and with Gabriel. I think that's why I'd put it a 9 out of 10, not a 10 out of 10. And then for entertainment, I'm going to put this at a 10 out of 10. I was constantly grabbed by this movie. I did not feel bored at all. This was such a great surprise to me as I went in expecting to be much less excited about it. And I want to watch this again.
Quality-wise, I think Gabriel's not the most enticing villain. Dead Reckoning was more emphasized on him, and the Final Reckoning is more focused on the entity. That helps. However, it does have some plot conveniences to try and make all the action scenes come together. I don't think there's necessarily a plot hole, but there is just a lot of exposition to make that happen. Other than that, it's a fun story. I think the cinematography is amazing. Stunts, it's just very well done. And then, entertainment, I'd give it a 10 out of 10 for sure. So who do you think's going to have a better legacy? Daniel Craig in the James Bond movies or Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt?
I think definitely Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt. Just the fact that he does his real stunts and he's American. Come on, what else can you beat? Yeah, I almost think like if you got like a crossover between Mission Impossible and James Bond. Like if you had all of a sudden at the end of this film, you just got Tom Cruise walking through Paris and he walks in and like bumps into James Bond. He's like, "Hey, buddy, what you doing?" Like that'd be freaking cool. Why can't we have that?
I mean, there's similarities. The IMF force is almost... They make it clear in the movie with Ilsa Faust. She's an MI6 agent, same as James Bond. Ethan Hunt's in the IMF Impossible Mission Force. There could be a crossover.
Right.
That'd be a very cool sequence.
It would be definitely a money grab.
This is definitely a movie you want to see on IMAX. Don't wait for it to hit streaming. Go watch it in theaters. Seriously. This is a treat. It's a rare occasion. Be sure to check it out when Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning hits IMAX, May 23rd. Like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.